a gross foggy morning. It's currently about 3 a.m. and we have a 3-hour drive until we get to the Arco. So I will update as time goes on, and I will see you guys at the gas station. So we're nearing our destination, but I just wanted to show this. 48-degree charge air temperatures. Alright, so you guys saw I just made it to the gas station. It was about 220 miles, and I did log the, there you go, 609. I did log the MPG, and it was actually a lot worse than I thought. It was 17.4, you can see there. About 17.4 miles per gallon for this trip. Granted, I was allegedly cruising at like 80, 85 the entire time, and this whole drive is sort of uphill, so kind of is what it is. I drove great. It's really quiet with the graveyard exhaust at like cruising speed. The only thing was, got some rub on the rear quarters over some high bumps because this thing's fully loaded, so it's completely squatting. But that's about it for the whole drive. Drama-free, luckily. Very nice, drove well, so I'm excited to go to the track, start unpacking, and get ready for the day. Alright, so I noticed this coupler has a bit of oil on top, and I think there's two little tiny pinholes in here from whoever had this coupler and piping kit before me, but luckily I did bring spare couplers. So I'm going to take the 45 off from down here, because that's actually not perfect anyways, and I brought this 30 with me, so I'm going to swap those and then use that 45 up here. Or I could even really use the 30 up here too, but we will figure it out. Point is, it needs to be switched out because I don't want my boost leaking or this popping on track. There we have it. So now we have a 30-degree coupler here, that bigger 45 here that's in good shape. Now I'm gonna go ahead and do a quick hit, make sure there's no boost leaks, and we will finish unpacking and get registered. All right, we should see about 20 to 21 pounds of boost on the gauge here. All right, it hit about 19, but I think I may leave it because that is safe. So I'll do another hit and we'll see. I'll do a 2-3 and see how that works out. Yeah, it's still at about 19 PSI, but we will leave that and maybe adjust it later if it doesn't rise up at all. Alright, so in terms of changes, there are a few, mainly cooling related. So now this vehicle actually has a 25-row Coilrad oil cooler sitting here in the fog light where it used to be. We also have a Treadstone TR11 intercooler. This thing cools extremely well, and I'm going to touch on all this in other videos, but just as a quick overview, now finally have front mount piping. It's all set up and routed. This thing cools really, really, really well. It stays ice cold, so I'm pretty confident in it, and that's really it besides tires. These are Bridgestone Potenza Races, and they're nothing like I've ever driven on track before. As you can see, they have more of a traditional street tire pattern, or almost like a Pilot Sport 4S, but they are a 200 tread wear, and they do have a really stiff sidewall. They're more like an endurance tire, so I'm really interested to see how they're going to handle out. Additional to that, we have some Carbotech XP12 pads, endless brake fluid. Like, the thing's pretty well set up to go out and track reliably, but we'll go ahead and see what happens. We have our track numbers on the vehicle, and we're going to just check a little more fluids and be done with it before we go out, and hopefully day goes good. And with that, we have session one. My main goal here was to, just like last time with the Z, get a feel for the track and warm up the car. Mainly also get a feel for the car in general though. I've obviously never driven this car on track, and on track it's very different than a canyon road or just driving it hard around town. So definitely a big priority was just learning everything new. right here's a perfect example of why you keep your eyes up and ahead. Do not focus on other drivers. If this guy would have went into a wall, unfortunately, I probably would have been in the same boat as him. This was definitely a mistake on my end, not paying attention to my own line. Being mindful that he was probably going to spin, I was trying to be more analytical and go as wide as I could to keep as much distance between me and him as possible. It's what you should always do if you see a car spinning on track. It's never a good situation.
Rotates crazy. It's a little terrifying, to be honest. Like, as soon as you're off the brakes, it tries to twist itself in, and I kind of want that, but at the same time, it's a little scary, like running into a corner, especially with the walls there, and you let off the gas and it's just twisting in. It's pretty good though. A little understeery towards the end, but like I said, I think the tires are just hot. Temps were great, so I'm happy.
Session 2 I didn't get much footage of because it was a lot of climbing through traffic, but now feeling the car and knowing how it is with tire pressures aired down, it was time to actually start going for some real laps. Unfortunately, didn't really get any main ones because, as you can see, there is tons of traffic, but we still did put down a 126.5, I believe, and kind of set up the bones for the rest of the day.
Crazy. It's like really scary, but it works so good when it works out. And the brakes, you have to, for me at least, it's really weird getting used to them. They're not nearly as strong as what I'm used to, so my braking points are way earlier. It's a little sketch, but it does work. This thing, it works pretty good. So, I don't know, I'm pretty hyped. That was only 10 minutes of driving. Maybe I'll let it cool off, do another lap or two. I don't know. 26.5. That is pretty wild. A little scary, but it's pretty quick. It's really scary on turn 1 because it's so unstable and high up. It feels like it's gonna spin, but besides that, this thing is dialed.
Session 3, I didn't film from inside the car because I actually had my friend riding passenger to kind of show him the line and give him a feel for this car, just so he can kind of share the experience I was having. A couple ended up blowing up, which is kind of expected, but we got it fixed and we're ready for the rest of the day, and that now brings us to Session 4. Session 4 was awesome. Everything finally started to click. I did a lot of driving and I really got a feel for the car and actually putting down times I wanted to do. This is the first session I actually broke into the 25s, which was extremely surprising. The car, I don't know how far I expected it to get coming into this day, but it definitely surprised me pleasantly. Also, just like last time, I experimented with different gears going into second for the last turn and I believe turn 2. It actually worked out a lot better in this car because in third gear through those corners, it's a little bit low, so it's kind of barely in boost and it takes a bit for it to build, but in second, it just lights up right away, and all I'm really losing time on is the shift from 2 to 3, but it's kind of negligible for the gains I actually do still get. Here I'm trying to build the biggest gap I can to give myself the best chance at an open lap without any traffic. It didn't really end up working out. I still had to make the pass on this black 8th Gen Civic, but after I made the pass, everything seemed okay.
my PB there was a 125.8. So it's getting faster. I'm getting more comfortable with it. That one corner, I steered the whole thing with no steering angle. That was insane. This thing shreds and works very well. It gets really hot though. Oil up to 260 is about where I saw it, which is like, it's not great, but it's not horrible. No, that was good though. That was like really good. I'm happy with that. Let's see. A 25.2, holy shit! That's faster than the Z! That is crazy.
Session 5 energy was high, and it might have been a bit too high because I got a little excited in braking zones trying to outbrake my previous braking zones, which ultimately ended up leading to me overshooting them, but at least you learn you can't brake as late as you would like to all the time.
That time I did a 25.6, I think. Pretty sure that was my fastest. It still felt good, just not as good as the last session. Yeah, 25.60. So, still not bad, of course, but a little worse. I'm still satisfied. Car feels good. None of those laps, though, really felt like proper. So, we got one more session today, and then that'll be that.
I decided to go out for the final session, but this time just with the camera outside the car, but I did still have my phone rolling in the car to see what times I was putting down, but mainly I just wanted to focus on my driving and just try and put together the best lap I possibly could. Didn't really even pay attention at times until after the fact, and surprisingly, I did a 1:24.6, which is 0.2 seconds faster than my PB of all time in this track, even with my Z. Well, I accidentally time traveled and went to 2 days from the track day. On a serious note, I did a horrible job filming outside of actual track footage, but 2 days later, and I just want to go over the car and how everything went. Number one, I'm extremely impressed with the reliability and just how well the car worked. This car has never been on track. At the most, it's been driven relatively hard. I can't even say that hard in a canyon road, which is, again, nothing like an actual track. And the fact that I was able to go out there all day, drive this thing with only one issue that I'll get into in a little bit, and it cooled well, it drove good, the brakes worked pretty good, the tires worked pretty good, it like felt good enough to where I could put down a pretty fast lap. I'd say a 124 is well below average in terms of lap times at that track for that layout. So, I mean, it's really not too bad for a car, like I said, that's never been to a track before and has just been put together based on knowledge and what I think would end up working, and turns out to have actually worked. The tires, as you saw in the other clip, got completely smoked, at least in the front end, because of the lack of camber and the open front diff. If you guys want to see something pretty interesting, let's look at the tire wear for the car. This was the front tire for the whole day. This was the rear for the whole day. You can see it is marbled, it is very used, and there is some outer wear here, but nothing too ridiculous. Front, on the other hand, has really heavy outside wear because of the lack of front camber. You could also see the tread is actually worn at an angle right here, but on the inside is bald. And I think what's happening is when the car's going through a corner, it's body rolling so much, lifting the inside wheel, and because it's an open front diff, it's spinning the inside wheel so fast, it's just completely roasting the inside of these tires. So, kind of expected, kind of unfortunate. These tires were cheap, so it is what it is. I think if I rotate them and just keep an eye on them, I can still get a lot of miles out of them. So I'm not too worried about it, but it's just interesting to look at. So I'm pleasantly surprised with them. I wasn't expecting too much out of them, and they definitely worked adequate. As for brakes, that was sort of one weak point for me. The brake pedal felt good all day. The fluid never faded. The pads maybe faded a little bit. There were some sections where I'd be pretty hard on the brakes, and I wouldn't really feel them slowing the car down too much. And they got extremely hot. Front rotors, I don't know. It's definitely in this higher range, probably closer to 1300, 1400 degrees. So that is pretty wild in the front. The rear is actually the same thing, but the rear is more definitely a beige. So the rear got extremely hot, which is kind of expected. They're non-vented rotors, and they are absolutely smoked. They lost like half of their braking performance, I feel like, after the track day, at least just driving around normally without actually slamming on them. Before, if you tap the pedal, it would like instantly bite and slow the car down. Now you have to kind of fall into the brake pedal for it to actually start slowing down the car. It probably just needs to be re-bedded, but these pads destroyed these rotors. I am pretty surprised. They actually didn't crack, which is what I was thinking was going to happen. You can see the paint is coming off around sections that aren't connected to the hat there, and they just got destroyed and beaten. They are still working though, and I am kind of surprised about that. Let's go ahead and move on to engine reliability, because that's what I was honestly most worried about, because everyone makes it seem like such a huge issue with these cars.
It takes you so much higher just to sit back down. You're feeding on a cold smile. Try to replace it. No, you don't know half
We can start with temperatures. They were absolutely phenomenal. The highest I saw the coolant was about 200 degrees, which is pretty hot, but it's nothing really to worry about until it's after about 215-ish. Air temps never went over 100, and oil never went over 260, which is pretty high, but honestly it didn't stay that high for that long. It dropped pretty quickly, especially just with a little cool down lap or half of a lap being cooled down. It worked really well, and it was not a problem really for me to sort of really worry about. The power steering felt great all day, didn't overheat or anything. There is some residue here, but I think that's more so because it's not a baffled reservoir, more than it overflowed because of it boiling out. The oil did get consumed a little bit. It seems like it consumed about a quart, but I know a half quart of it pretty much is in this catch can. You can see this is the custom catch can setup I had done. It is pretty full, so it's a very large catch can. It definitely caught a lot of oil. It does exactly what it was designed to do, and I'm pretty happy about that. Overall, as I've already stated, I'm extremely impressed with the car, and I think I'm even more excited to bring it to some more track days and really see what it could do. That track is a good track to bring a car like this to, because it is small and it is one of the lower speed tracks, relatively speaking, so it's pretty low risk, and there's an auto parts store nearby, so if anything happens, you have a more likely chance of getting the car fixed. Like I said, though, the car didn't really have any issues, just the coupler stuff, which was expected. I did bring spare couplers because I had a feeling something like that was going to happen, and it's just a good idea to carry stuff like that around you, especially in a boosted car. I mean, you never know when a coupler can pop or something get too hot or whatever the case may be. You just want to be prepared in case anything happens so you don't ever get stranded. with that, I'm excited to see what the future holds, and just stay tuned if you guys want to see more stuff with this car and the Z and the Beamer.